Yahuwah, the first and the last. What does that mean? What our interest must be is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's our interest. And when, you see, when your interest in is the truth, you really have no tolerance for lies. You can't stomach it. You can't stand it. It makes you sick. You see, it makes you sick. And you can't watch them guys. You can't listen to them. You see, you think it's just us. You see, lies make Yahuwah sick also. It makes him nauseated. That's why he says that you've got to be either hot or cold. But if you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out. I'm going to vomit you up. I'm sorry. Don't mean to be gross, but the word that they translate spit is really better translated vomit. Okay? You make him we make him nauseated if we are lukewarm. You see. So if I'm listening to T.D. Jakes on Sunday and then say I'm studying Torah on Monday, and using their terminology, their days, then I'm lukewarm. You see? I cannot be. Listen, I cannot be. This is why I don't like to keep this phone on. I cannot be. Give me a second, please. I cannot be. I cannot be eating from Jezebel's table and then eating from Yahuwah's table at the same time. It doesn't work. Okay? It simply does not work. You're going to get sick. Okay? So, but that's what's happening. And so we can't be parrots just echoing everything that is said. You see, the enemy is crafty. And when he put a package together, he puts it together well. His teachings, they sound absolutely good on the surface. They sound like they have merit. But dig deeper, and you will find that there's a lot of problems. Okay? So Yahuwah says, he says to them, you have been shown it, to know that Yahuwah himself is Elohim. There is no one beside him. Yahuwah himself is Elohim. There is no one beside him. Now, this is just one place that lets us know who Elohim is. Elohim is Yahuwah. Notice he didn't say Yahuwah themselves. Notice he didn't say Yahuwah themselves. Notice he didn't say Yahuwah themselves. But he said Yahuwah himself. He did not say Yahuwah themselves, but he said Yahuwah himself. I point that out and I go over it over and over again because there are people that are again teaching that there are two Yahuwahs. He said Yahuwah himself, not Yahuwah themselves. Okay? All right. So he says, know this, that Yahuwah himself is Elohim. If you go to the book of Bereshit, he tells us here that he is Elohim. If you go to the book of Bereshit, over and over again, he'll also repeat that Elohim is Yahuwah. Yahuwah is Elohim. So when you see Elohim, he's talking about Yahuwah. That's very important as we continue in the study. Now, let's think about the commands for a minute. Let's think about the commands for a minute. Let's go to the book of Shamut. That is the book of Exodus. Book of Shamut. Where is that at? Bear with me, please, while I find it. Shamut, the book of Shamut. Now, I think what I'm looking for is chapter 20. Chapter 20. Now, let me make, okay, I'll read this and then I'll make a point. Okay? Chapter 20. Thank you, Aki. Shamut chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. I'm going to begin reading from verse 1. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, who spoke? Elohim, right? Who is Elohim? Yahuwah. So we could say, and Yahuwah spoke all these words, saying. Now, why does the scriptures use the title Elohim sometimes? And why does it use Yahuwah at other times? Because Yahuwah wants us to know that in his fullness, he is Elohim. Elohim refers to his plural nature. In other words, he is Yahuwah Yara. Yes, the sovereign. Thank you, Akot. Thank you. Elohim refers to his sovereignty. So he is Yahuwah Yara. He is Yahuwah Al Shaddai. He is Yahuwah Zedakanu. He is Yahuwah Shalom. He is Yahuwah, on and on. Different titles. They're all not coming to me right now. He is Yahuwah At. Yes, he is Yahuwah At. Now, what is Yahuwah At? Yahuwah At, okay, is Elohim ever translated from Yahuwah At? Well, here is the thing, Aki will. Yahuwah At was never translated. Yahuwah, not Yahuwah At. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say Yahuwah At. The At was translated in few places. That's where it talks about him being the first and the last, Alpha and Omega, so on and so forth. That's a translation of At, because that's what it means. You see, At. You see, okay, let me explain here what's going on with Yahuwah At. This is what people are teaching. At, what you find is At in the scriptures appears over 9,000 times in the scriptures. Over 9,000 times. I'm not counting the times that it was translated. 9,000 times. 9,000 times untranslated. Okay? At appears over 9,000 times in the scriptures. I'm not talking about in the Bible, but in the scriptures. Untranslated. Why didn't they translate it in the Bible? Why didn't they bring it over in the Bible translation? The answer is this. Because the Bible is a Christian book. The Christian book teaches a doctrine called the Trinity. At disproves that doctrine called the Trinity, because At means Aleph and two are Ta. Okay. What that means is the first and the last. So when we see, if we say Yahuwah At, when we see Yahuwah At, if they should have translated it, which they should have, they should write Yahuwah the first and the last. What does that mean? The first and the last also means the beginning and the ending. That also means what Yahuwah is saying when he calls himself Yahuwah. What he's saying is just what he said in Dabarim chapter 4 verse 35 that we just read. Is exactly what he's saying. He's saying this: there is none before me, none beside me, and there will be none after me. That's what Yahuwah means. Yahuwah, the Aleph and the Tav. Yahuwah, who is the beginning and the end. Yahuwah, who is the first and the last. We ask the question, how many people can claim to be the first and the last? How many mighty ones can claim to be the first and the last? Only one. No other mighty one except Yahuwah can claim to be the first and the last. So, you see now, so let me point out the stupidity in this, because it's stupidity, and I'm not going to tame the tongue in saying that. It's stupidity. There is stupidity in this language, in this doctrine. The doctrine of the two Yahuwah says this: you have Yahuwah the Father, and then you have Yahuwah. Okay, then you have Yahuwah. Okay, that's what this doctrine teaches. So you have two Yahuwah. You have Yahuwah the Father and Yahuwah. Now, Yahuwah, this doctrine teaches, and look it up if you're not familiar, this doctrine teaches that the Yahuwah that we see on the earth is Yahuwah. The Yahuwah that is seen on earth is Yahuwah. Now I'm going to ask the room this question. That's what they say, but them saying that is not, it sounds good, but it's not according to the scriptures, Aki. So I'm going to go to the scriptures in a moment. But let me ask this question before I go any further. Again, I'm going to ask the room. I just said it, but I just want to ask. What does Aleph-Tav means? Or Aleph-2? What does that mean? Somebody could type it up there for me. I'd appreciate it. First and last. Beginning and end. Alpha and Omega. Actually, no. That's the definition they give to it, Aki. But that's not. That's not scriptural. When they say word or alphabet, that's not scriptural. That's a definition that some man out of his flesh gave to it, but that's not what it means. It is a Hebrew word. Aleph, is Aleph, Ta, or two, okay? And what it means is first and last, beginning and end. And what that means is, and in the Greek it's called Alpha and Omega. And what it means is that there is none before me, none after me. Okay? That's what it means. Okay? Now, here's the second question. If the Yahuwah that we see on earth is Yahuwah, then does not that then mean that he is greater than the Father who is in heaven? Am I correct in thinking that? Because you see, Yahuwah, by the very definition of that name, says that he is greater than this other Yahuwah who then is in the heavens. Isn't that correct? Does anybody see that? Can anybody agree with that? That Yahuwah would be greater than the Father who's in the heavens? In other words, Yahuwah, which is the Yahuwah in flesh, is the first and the last. That means he comes before the Yahuwah who is in the heavens, and he will exist after the Yahuwah in the heavens is done away with. You see? Okay. Yeah, well, at doesn't mean word, Aki. If you look it up in a Bri, it doesn't mean word in the sense that they use it. Okay, it means word, but not in the sense that they use it. Okay, let's go to Yahukanan, chapter 1. So, if Yahuwah in the flesh is Yahuwah at, yes, it can also mean mark, because the ta, and it's not just mark by itself. You have two different words. The ta is a mark, you see, and what mark there means is the manifested presence of Yahuwah. He is the manifested presence of Yahuwah. So the Taw represents the mark. So he's the manifested presence of Yahuwah. He's the mark of Yahuwah, the manifested presence. Because what does the scripture tell us about Yahuwah in his fullness? Yahuwah in his sovereignty. What does the scripture tell us about Yahuwah in his sovereignty? Anyone? As far as well, that's a broad question. The scriptures tells us that Yahuwah in his sovereignty, in his fullness, that he is what? Invisible. Yahuwah is invisible. He is spirit. He cannot be seen. And so in order to be seen, he has to manifest himself. That's why Yahusha is the mark of Yahuwah, the manifested presence of the invisible Yahuwah. Okay, so let's go to Yahukanan chapter 1, and those that's why people do away with the renewed covenant. Now, you see, please understand, I'm not saying that the renewed covenant, that the Christians have not tainted it, but anybody who says just throw it out, throw that person out. Okay. Okay, Yahukanan chapter 1 makes it absolutely plain. I mean, simple. Okay, Yahukanan chapter 1. Now, you see, when the wicked translators took the names and titles of Yahuwah out of the scriptures, it served to keep us absolutely blinded to a whole lot of truth. Okay, absolutely blinded. Okay, I'm gonna go to that, Aki. I'm gonna go to that. I was gonna go in an order, but you know what? I know that you really desire to get this sorted out, so I'm gonna go in that order. So after I go to Yahukanan chapter 1, I'm gonna go to Revelations chapter 1, and I love that because it makes it absolutely plain also. So I'm gonna go there. Yahukanan chapter 1, if you could just turn your scriptures to Yahukanan chapter 1. And I'm going to read it the way that it should be. Please understand that in the renewed covenant and in the room, let's talk about the real Jesus. We're going over that right now. There are times where you see God. God don't always mean that Elohim is what should go there. When you see God in the renewed covenant, sometimes it should actually be the name of Yahuwah, his explicit name. But even if it's Elohim, we know according to the scriptures, even Dabarim chapter 4 that we looked at, that Elohim is speaking about Yahuwah. Okay? Yahuwah, the creator. How many creators are there according to the scriptures? According to the scriptures, there's only one, right? There's only one creator. One. How many kings does Yashar'Al have according to the scriptures? One. So, according to the scriptures, there's only one creator. And according to the scriptures, there's only one king. Okay? Now, what happens is that with this two Yahuwah doctrine, that makes there to be two creators and two kings over Yashar'Al. Now, of course, they deny that's not what it says, but that's what it comes down to. But let's look at Yahukanan chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Besora used Elohim. In this situation, in my studies, I found that the word that should be here is God. And the way you know, when you study from the Greek, you see the words that they use. Okay, for example, Lord, and two different words they use. You have Kyrios and you have Dios. Okay, and when they use Kyrios they use to replace the proper name instead of his title. Okay, so when you look in the Greek, you see Kyrios. Okay, that's where the proper name should be. Who is Kyrios? A pagan deity. So when you say the Lord, you're referring to a pagan deity, even from a Greek perspective. I'm not talking about from a Hebrew perspective. We know that we're referring to Baal from a Hebrew perspective, but even from a Greek perspective, Kyrios is a pagan sun deity. But yet, and you know who points that out? How is it that Marvel Comics knows this, but the theologians who translate the scriptures don't? Marvel Comic points this out. Marvel Comic, Universal, points out that Kyrios that you see in the Bible, in the Greek text, is a pagan sun deity. Well, that's the title, that's the name of the deity they have taken and replaced for the name of Yahuwah. Okay, so in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. Okay, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. In the beginning was the Word was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. That's not the end of it, but who is the Word? May I ask, who is the Word, family? Who is the Word? Yahuwah. The Word is Yahuwah. The Word is Yahuwah. Okay. Does that tell us that this is another Yahuwah or the Yahuwah? Because Dabarim chapter 4 says there is only one Yahuwah, right? Dabarim chapter 4 says that there is only one Yahuwah. It says that in the beginning was the Word. In the Aleph was the Word. In the Aleph was the Word. And the Word was with Yahuwah, and the Word was Yahuwah. So who is the Word? Yahuwah. And the scriptures tells us that there is only one Yahuwah. Okay? He was, now notice now, verse 2. He, not they, singular, he was in the beginning with Yahuwah. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. He was in the beginning with Yahuwah. Now remember, verse 1 says that he was Yahuwah. We're going to, as we continue to read, it was going to tell us that he, the word Mashiach, which is Yahuwah manifested in flesh, have always been in the bosom of the Father. Why does it make a distinction between father and servant? Because Yahuwah manifested as servant, he takes on a lower form, and that again is given to us in the scriptures. Probably won't get to it today, but it's laid out, explained to us clearly in the scriptures. And we're going to go to Revelations chapter 1 also, where we'll see also. Okay? So all came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. So Yahuwah, the Word, because the Word is Yahuwah, is creator of all things. All came to be through him, and without him was nothing made that was made. This is repeated in the book of Colossians, in the book of Hebrews. It's repeated all throughout the scriptures. Okay? Verse 4. In him, not in them, not in them, because if we're talking about two, we should have some plural titles here. In him was life. Yahuwah is life. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from Elohim, whose name was Yahuchanan. This one came in a witness for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all might believe through him. I'm going to continue reading because there's a few verses I want to get to, especially about verse 14 or so. He was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. He was the true light. He was the true light, which enlightens every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him. He was in the world came to be through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. And the Word became flesh. The Word became flesh. The Word is who? Yahuwah. Yahuwah became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem as of an only brought forth of a father, complete in favor and truth. So the Word, which verse 1 tells us that the Word is Yahuwah, Yahuwah, the invisible Yahuwah, became flesh. You read that also in 1 Timothy chapter 1, that the invisible Yahuwah manifests himself. Here in Yahukanan, it also tells us the same thing. Yahuwah, the Word, became flesh, manifesting himself. Okay? And the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem as of an only brought forth of a father, complete in favor and truth. Yahukanan bore witness of him, and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me has become before me, because he was before me. And out of his completeness we all did receive, and favor upon favor. And out of his completeness, what is that speaking of? And out of his completeness we all did receive. Out of his completeness. Out of his, the one standing now before them, out of his completeness. As he stood before them, he is not in his completeness, because according to Philippians chapter 2, he had emptied himself and came as a servant. So he's not in his completeness. But in the heavens, he exists in his fullness. Well, how can he exist in the heavens in his fullness and exist on the earth as a servant all at the same time? Because as we study the scriptures tells us this about him. The scriptures tells us that one, he is omnipotent, meaning that he is all powerful. And because he is all powerful, there is nothing impossible for him to do. The scriptures tells us that. So when the scripture says that there is nothing impossible with Yahuwah, it's speaking about his omnipotence. Now, what does that mean? Nothing impossible. Nothing impossible means nothing impossible. Nothing impossible means that it is possible for Yahuwah to be standing on the earth in flesh, yet he is existent in the heavens in his fullness in an invisible manner. That's what nothing is impossible means. You see, somehow some is able to attribute impossibilities to Yahuwah, who says that with him nothing is impossible. Somehow some people are able to attribute impossibilities with the one who says that with me all things are possible. But when the truth don't line up with the doctrine, then that's impossible. What is it? What are we going to believe? Are we going to believe the truth, or are we going to seek to hold fast to falsehood, to our own ideologies? You see, we've got to ask that. Okay, I'll take a look at it, Aki. I'm going to go to chapter 1. I'm going to go to chapter 1. Okay, so how could he do that? Again, because of his omnipotence. And because he's omnipotent, meaning he's all-powerful, it means then that there is nothing impossible with him. So it's possible for Yahuwah to be standing in the earth in flesh as a servant, yet he is existent in the earth, in the heavens, in his fullness, Elohim, invisibly. Okay, it's possible because he's omnipotent. Now, because of his omnipotence, he is also omnipresent. Because he is omnipotent, he is also omnipresent. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means just what I said before. He can be in the heavens and on the earth. But not only that, he is everywhere all at the same time. So for those who said that's impossible for Yahuwah to be in the heavens invisible and on the earth visible, then they haven't thought much about it, have they? So right now, at this very moment, Yahuwah is in my presence. At this very moment, Yahuwah is in the presence of our coat Sarah. At this very moment, and she's in Florida, I'm in New Jersey. At this very moment, Yahuwah is in California in the presence of our coat Jeanette. At this very moment, Yahuwah is in Georgia in the presence of our coat Gina. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our key Yaakov and his family. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our key Daniyahu. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our key Will in Ohio. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah who is in my presence sitting in this room is in the presence of my wife sitting in the bedroom upstairs at this very moment. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our coat Yana. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our coat Yara. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our coat Elizabeth and the key Mark in Tennessee. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of our key Antonio. At this very moment, the one Yahuwah is in the presence of a Kochar. And at this very moment, they're in Texas, different places in Texas, but yet the one Yahuwah is in every place at this very moment. So how can it be impossible for this one Yahuwah who is present in every place? How many Yahuwahs are we praying to? You see, because if it's not the one Yahuwah, then we must be praying to millions of Yahuwahs, because it requires another Yahuwah to hear each of our prayers. But you see, it is the one Yahuwah that is present in every place. And it is the one Yahuwah that is seated, that was seated in the heavens in his fullness invisibly, but yet he was standing on the earth in the flesh. The one Yahuwah. Hallelujah. And he does it all in the same time. He is not limited to time nor space. Yahuwah stepped out of eternity and stepped into time, yet he was still existent in eternity. That's the power of the Yahuwah we serve. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about, before we go to Revelations chapter 1, I want to talk about the danger. These people are teaching pagan idolatry, and they don't even realize it. Okay? You see, I don't know if you're aware, but some of these people, and they don't share it openly. There have been people in this room who were proclaiming that doctrine. And to me, privately, they have expressed this. They've never shared it in the room, but I'm aware because they've shared it with me in private conversations. They have expressed that the Messiah, they have expressed, those who teach the two Yahuwah doctrine have expressed to me that the Messiah is really not. Now, this is contradictory. You see, when you dive into foolishness, you get real stupid. Okay? But they have expressed to me that Yahusha is not divine. Yahusha is not divine. Because Yahusha was simply the son of Yahusaph and Miriam. They have expressed to me that Yahusha was imperfect. And that is why he had to follow the Torah the way he did. because he was imperfect. So Yahusha had sin, and that's why he had to go through the entire process to become perfect. Let me ask the room, what's the danger with that doctrine? What other pagan religion teach that? What other pagan belief teach something that amount to that? Where does that lead? Can anybody in the room tell me? I'll release the mic. It might be a bit much to type. I just want to see if anybody else can share with the room. Where does that teaching lead to? What does it lead to? It leads to a pagan belief and a pagan practice. What is that? What is that pagan belief and practice that it leads to? Yes, he could not have been the perfect atonement. Well, yes. And now what they say, what make him the perfect atonement is the fact that he kept Torah perfectly. Well, I want to tell you that that's not what the scriptures teaches from beginning to end, okay? He kept Torah perfectly, but he didn't keep it perfectly so that he could be made perfect. He was perfect. He was without sin. He came and he kept Torah perfectly to show us that it is possible if we are walking empowered by the Ruach for us to keep Torah, not according to that Christian doctrine. Oh, we're all sinners. You'll never, we'll never be perfect. No, that's a Christian lie. That's idolatry, pagan foolishness. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you what that doctrine teaches. You see, think about the very people that Yahuwah told Yashar'Al not to learn the way of the heathen. Among those people had human sacrifices. Among the peoples of the nations, they have always sacrificed humans to the mighty ones. Okay? If I want to use their title that they use, to the gods. They make human sacrifices. The greatest sacrifice that you can give to a mighty one on the pagan belief is a human sacrifice. Okay? Now, think about in our recent history, and you still have people doing it today. Halloween is a very satanic holiday, and there are people who actually sacrifice human beings on that holiday. They kidnap homeless people. Yes, it happens. Okay, they make human sacrifices. Okay, now, but think about also the Mayans. I was watching a documentary the other day where they went over there where the Mayans were, up to that place where they built, and they found the bodies of human beings that were sacrificed to the sun deity. Okay, babies and grown people. And the body was preserved. They found the body intact, but it was a human sacrifice. Okay, now where am I going? You see, when somebody tells you that Yahusha was not divine, Yahuwah manifested in the flesh, when they tell you that, what they're saying to you, they're simply repeating pagan beliefs. Okay, so if Yahusha was not divine, if Yahusha was not Yahuwah manifested in the flesh, it means then that the mighty one of heaven needed to appease himself by having a human being like you and I sacrificed to him. He is no different than the idols that the nations worshipped that desired human sacrifices. And so therefore one of his subjects, one of the lesser peoples, had to be raised up and prepared to be offered up as a human sacrifice. Okay, so Yahusha, according to their teaching, I've been told this, that's what was explained to me. Yahusha was just like another man. He's the seed of Yahusaf and the seed of Miriam, and he had sin. So when the scriptures say he had no sin, that's a Christian invention. They is what was explained to me. He was just another man, okay? And he had to be perfect in Torah, and then he could become the sacrifice for the rest of us. That's human sacrificing. That's what the people of the nations did. That's not what Yahuwah does. The scriptures lets us know that it is Yahuwah himself that redeems his people. It is Yahuwah himself that shed his blood for his people. It is Yahuwah himself that buys his people back. That's what the scriptures lets us know from beginning to end. Yahuwah is not into human sacrifices. Yahuwah did not leave it upon another to take responsibility for what his creation did. He took full responsibility for what his creation did. We deserved wrath, but he took the wrath upon himself. He said, you know what, I created you. I'm not going to leave it up to anybody else to take the blame for it. I'm going to be merciful to you, and I'm going to chastise myself. That's what Yahuwah did. When you read the book of Zechariah chapter 3, that is the message that he is giving. When Yahusha was standing there in the courtroom and Shaitan was accusing him. Yahuwah, that's a picture of Yahuwah standing before the judge, taking the blame for himself. Okay? And so these people are teaching pagan, idolatrous doctrines. Yet they're blinded to what they're teaching. Don't even realize what they're teaching. But you see, when you begin to become puffed up and begin to create your own, begin to reason from your own mind rather than from letting the scriptures speak, then you will do just that. And you will find yourself echoing things that are esteeming Shaitan, but yet you can't see it. And unfortunately, that's where we are at with a whole lot of people today. With a whole lot of people. It's grievous to me. Okay. Now, let's go to Revelations chapter 1. When I read the scriptures, I love context. When you stick with context, you simply cannot go wrong. And so I want to go here, and I'm going to begin at verse 1. The revelation of Yahusha Mashiach, which Elohim gave him to show his servants what has to take place with speed. And he signified it by sending his messenger to his servant Yahuchanan. Now I want to look at verse 1. Revelation of Yahusha Mashiach, which Elohim gave him, which Yahuwah gave him, to show his servants what has to take place with speed. The revelation of Yahusha Mashiach, which Elohim, which Yahuwah gave him. Why is that spoken in that way? It says that Yahuwah gave Yahusha something. Why is that spoken in that way? Oh, that means that they are... See, that's the two Yahuwahs we're talking about. That's what that means. No, that's not what that means. And the scriptures lets us know that's not what that means. So we're going to pause at verse 1. Now, if we continue reading, of course, this chapter is going to explain that that's not what that means. But we're going to pause at verse 1 because what I love about the scriptures, that's why Yahuwah tells us to study line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. Because he scatters his truth all throughout the word, all throughout his scriptures. And he does that to trap the wicked. He tells us that they may fall backward and be destroyed. So it's a reason why Yahuwah lays out his word like that, to trap the wicked. You mean Yahuwah would do that? He want to see the wicked destroyed? Yes. Yup. Because he knows the wicked is the one that is unrepentant. The wicked only loves wickedness. And so he says that he lays out his word. When we read in the book of Yashar'Al chapter 28, he lays out his word in that way to trap the wicked so that they would stumble and fall backwards. That's what he tells us. Now, so here he says, Yahuwah, the revelation of Yahusha Mashiach, which Elohim gave him to show his servants, what has to take place with speed. Okay, so we have two Yahuwahs here talking to each other because Yahusha is supposed to be Yahuwah, right? But is that the case? Well, as we continue to read, we're going to see that's not the case, but I like to go line upon line, precept upon precept, and here a little and there a little. So let's go here and there for a little bit. Let's go to the book of Philippians chapter 2 very quickly. I'm not going to stay there long. I could stay there all day, but I'm not going to stay long. Go to Philippians chapter 2. And it's not just Philippians chapter 2, but there are many passages that explains verse 1 of Revelations. But let's look at Philippians chapter 2. Okay. Philippians chapter 2. We're going to begin reading at verse 5. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. It says, "For let this mind be in you, which was also in Mashiach Yahusha, who being in the form of Elohim," or who being the expressed image of Elohim, the expressed image of Yahuwah. When you look the word up for form, the expressed, he is the expressed, the very image of Yahuwah is what that word means. Who being the expressed image of Elohim did not regard equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped. Now, I want to stop at that word grasp. Every time I come here, I've got to pause and I've got to talk about it. And this is where I talk about even the Basura, that they did not even do their homework. Okay? That word grasp should not be there. Because, you see, the way that word, that's the way King James and his people translated it, and the Basura just kept it. When you read that verse, now the very next verse is going to explain, is going to show you that what I'm saying is so. But when you read this verse, he says, who being in the form of Elohim did not regard equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped. When you see that, when you listen to that, you're thinking that it's saying he did not regard equality with Yahuwah something for him to try to ascend to or try to attain. That's the idea you get from the way they quote, the way they translated that verse, as if that wasn't him and he never tried to be that. That's what you get when you read that verse. But let's go to the next verse and see what the next verse says. The next verse says, "But emptied himself, taking the form of a servant." Look at that verse. So if he was not that, if he was not Yahuwah, why is there a need for him to empty himself and change his form, taking the form of a servant? You see? You see? So the translators, in the way they translate, because it was translated by Christians who want to promote the false doctrine of the Trinity, they play with words to confuse people, and many people have been confused by it. So verse 6 says, "Who being in the form of Elohim," and when the way this is written, you won't see it. But when you look it up, you see, "who being the expressed image of Yahuwah," the very image of Yahuwah, did not regard equality with Yahuwah something to hold on to keep holding on to. Something to keep holding on to. Okay? But emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, and came to be in the likeness of men. Taking the form of a servant, and came to be in the likeness of men. That says a whole lot. So you see, he took the form of a servant. That's why Yahusha said, "I came not to be served, but to serve." He came as a servant. Yahuwah emptied himself, coming as a servant. So when he speaks from the heavens, he speaks in his fullness. When he speaks to himself standing on the earth, he speaks to himself as servant. Okay, so in the heavens, he is in his sovereignty. He is in his fullness. But on the earth, he is a servant. He had no problem with becoming a servant to mankind and a servant to himself. He had no problem with that. But some men can't understand that because their ego is too big, and so they can't see this truth. Ego. You see? Yes, and he was not loony. Absolutely, okay, as some try to say. You see? Okay? So he emptied himself. He being the expressed image of Yahuwah, the very Yahuwah, emptied himself. That's what these verses are saying. Okay? So that's why you see him in Revelations chapter 1 and verse 1. He is in his fullness, and he is speaking to himself, his servant. A key mark last night as he was reading from Zechariah chapter 3, he pointed that out. Oh, Yahuwah standing there spoke to Yahuwah. No, that's not the Yahuwah and Yahuwah. That's Yahuwah as servant speaking to Yahuwah in his fullness. Yahuwah means Yahuwah the Aleph and the Tav. So if he's the beginning, if the one standing on the earth is the beginning and the end, it means that he's greater than the one in the heavens. If we try to make that separation and distinction, that is absolute lunacy, you see. Okay, so verse 2. Okay, let me start from verse 1 again. Revelation of Yahusha Mashiach, which Elohim or Yahuwah gave him to show his servants what was to take place with speed. And he signified it by sending his messenger, his servant, his messenger, to his servant Yahukanan. Okay, Yahusha is his messenger, his servant, who bore witness to the word of Elohim, and the witness, so Yahukanan bearing witness to the word of Elohim, and the witness of Yahusha Mashiach to all he saw. Okay, verse 3. Barak is he who reads, and those who hear the words of this prophecy, and guard what is written in it, for the time is near. Yahukanan to the 7 assemblies that are in Asia, favor to you and shalom from him who is and who was and who is coming, and from the 7 spirits that are before his throne. Oh, verse 4, very important. Remember, looking at verse 2, okay? Verse 2 says, speaking of Mashiach, who Yahuwah sent, says, who bore witness to the word, and Yahukanan. Let me start again. Let me back up. Revelation of Yahusha Mashiach, which Elohim gave him to show his servants what has to take place with speed. And he signified it by sending his messenger to his servant Yahukanan, who bore witness, now speaking about Yahukanan, who bore witness to the word of Elohim and the witness of Yahusha Messiah to all he saw. So Yahukanan was bearing witness to Yahusha, bearing witness of Yahusha Mashiach to every people that he sees, everyone that he sees. He bears witness of Yahusha Mashiach. Now look what he says about Yahusha Mashiach. Look what he says about Yahusha Mashiach. Look at the description of who Yahusha is, verse 4. And this is just the beginning, verse 4. Yahukanan to the 7 assemblies that are in Asia, favor to you and shalom from him. From him, notice he didn't say from them, but favor to you from him who is and who was, from the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. Who is he bearing witness of according to the scriptures? He's bearing witness of Yahusha. And he calls Yahusha the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. Okay? Now, somebody say, well, yeah, because that's Yahuwah at. He is simply the word. But according to what we just read in Yahukanan chapter 1, is he simply the word? Remember, Yahukanan says, in the beginning was the word. The word was with Yahuwah, and the word was Yahuwah. The word became flesh and dwelt among us, full of favor and truth. Yahuwah became flesh and dwelt among us, full of favor and truth. That's the same thing that we just read in Philippians chapter 2, where he says that he did not consider equality a thing to hold on to. Equality with Yahuwah, thing to hold on to, but he emptied himself, coming in as a servant in the form of a man. Okay, so the same thing is being repeated over and over and over and over and over again. So here in verse 4, Yahukanan refers to him as Yahusha, as the beginning and the end. Okay, that's not the end, that's just the beginning. Let's continue. Okay, so he says, from him, favor to you and peace from him who is the Aleph, and who was, everything in between, and who is coming, the Tav. The Aleph, the beginning, everything in between, and the ending, the Tav. Favor and truth from him. He is speaking about Yahusha. From him who is the Aleph, and who was, everything in between, and who is coming, the Tav, and from the 7 spirits that are before his throne. The scriptures also tells us that these 7 spirits are Yahuwah himself. They are the 7 spirits of Yahuwah. Does that mean then, no, we shouldn't stop with 2 Yahuwahs? Because elsewhere the scripture tells us that these 7 spirits are the one Yahuwah. But if we want to separate him, then, we should have, by now, we should have 9 Yahuwahs. And that's not counting the rest of his attributes yet, you see. And that's not counting all of his manifestations as he sits with me here and he sits with everybody else in every other state and every other place where you are. Oh, we've got to begin counting. We've got to get calculators out because it doesn't add up, you see. So now verse 5. And from Yahusha, Messiah, the trustworthy witness, the firstborn from the dead, the ruler of the sovereigns of the earth, to him who loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and has made us sovereigns and priests to his Elohim, the Father. To him be esteem and rule forever and ever. Amen. Okay? See, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye shall see him. Now, what's interesting, now when we study scriptures, we know that Yahusha is Yahuwah. But here, he is referring to Yahusha coming on the clouds, and every eye shall see him. But are you aware that when you read in the book of Zechariah and other places that it says that it is Yahuwah that's going to come on clouds and every eyes will behold him? It says that in the book of Zechariah and in other places. So there it says that Yahuwah will come on clouds. But here it says Yahusha will come on clouds. Okay? Well, they'll say because Yahusha is the other Yahuwah. No, but it doesn't stop there. Tells us that Yahuwah that's coming, he's going to rule on and reign over Yerushalayim. Okay? He's going to rule in the midst of Yerushalayim. They're one and the same. You see. Now, yeah, that's another one, Aki, 12:10, Zechariah 12:10, and which it points out again that Yahuwah, it is Yahuwah that was slain on our behalf. It is Yahuwah that redeemed us, is what that verse points out. Again, the one Yahuwah, the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. Okay, verse 6. Excuse me. And has made us sovereigns and priests to his Elohim and Father. To him be esteem and rule forever and ever. Amen. Verse 7. See, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, even they who pierced him. And all the tribes of the earth shall mourn because of him. Yea, amen. I am the Aleph and the Tav. I am the first and the last. I am the beginning and the end, says Yahusha. How many people can claim to be the first and the last, the beginning and the end? No 2 people can claim that. Only one. Okay? Beginning and the end. I am the Aleph and the Tav, beginning and the end, says who? Are we looking at verse 8? Says Yahuwah, who is and who was and who is to come. Who is coming? Yahuwah. Now, it's not just Revelation that says this. It's all over the scriptures. Says Yahuwah, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty. What is he? The Almighty. Not one of the Almighty, but the Almighty. Okay? You know, earlier I was going to go to the book of Shamot, chapter 20, but I'm going to go back there. I forgot. I started to go there and never got there, but I'm going to go back. Okay? So he says, the Almighty. The Almighty. Not one of the Almighties, but the Almighty, the one who is to come, says Yahuwah, the Almighty. Oh no, just emphasis I quote is the, but I'm just emphasizing the, not the. Yeah, just emphasis. Okay. or the Almighty. Okay? Now, verse 9. I, Yahukanan, both your brother and co-sharer in pressure, and in the reign and endurance of Yahusha Mashiach, came to be on the island that is called Patmos, for the word of Elohim and for the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. I came to be in the spirit on the day of Yahuwah, and I heard behind me, this was Shabbat, okay? He was in the Ruach on Shabbat, the day of Yahuwah. And I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet. Now it's getting interesting. He heard behind him a loud voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am the Aleph and the Tav. I am the beginning and the end. Who is speaking? The first and the last. See? He tells us what Aleph and Tav means. Aleph and Tav means the first and the last, or the beginning and the end. Okay? And write in a book what you see, and send it to the 7 assemblies of Asia, to Ephesus, and to Smyrna, and to Pergamos, and to Thyatira, and to Sardis, and to Philadelphia, and to Laodicea. And I turned to see the voice which spoke with me, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the midst of the 7 lampstands, one like the son of Adam, the son of man. Who is the son of man? Remember now, what he heard. He heard a voice behind him as the sound of trumpets. And the one that spoke said, I am the Aleph and the Tav, the first and the last. He turned to look, and when he looked, he saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the midst of the 7 golden lampstands was one as the son of man, the son of Adam. Who is that? Yahusha. So he's telling us that Yahusha is the beginning and the end. What does beginning and end means? There is none before me, and there will be none after me. This is Revelation chapter 1. Verse 13. So, and in the midst of the 7 lampstands, one like the son of Adam, dressed in a robe down to his feet, and girded about the chest with a golden band. And his head and hair were white as white wool. Now, boy. Now the Besura, I tell you, the Besura is, the Besura. These people that translate the Besura, the only thing I appreciate about it is that they move the pagan names. But they have done everything in their power to try to hide the truth about the identity of the people. So they have even put 2 white in this verse. Okay? You see, this verse talk about his hair being as wool. If they leave it alone, it makes the point. But they want to say as white wool. So what they're trying to convey is that he's not necessarily referring to the texture of his hair. He's talking about the color of his hair. But the verse in its original form is referring also to the texture of Yahusha's hair. Okay? So these people are wicked. Okay? Now, verse 14, and his head and hair were white as white wool, as snow, and and his eyes as a flame of fire, and his feet like burnished brass. Also, what, and the way they even again translate verse 15 is to deceive, because again, as burnt brass. What is the color of burnt brass? Black. When you burn brass, it turns black. Okay. And his feet like burnt brass, as if refined in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And in his right hand he held 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his face was as the sun shining in its strength. See another guy the other day posting things, basically saying that the sun is Yahuwah. The sun, S-U-N, is Yahuwah. This is a person that called himself Yashar'Al, returning to sun worship, using these verses to do that. 17. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he placed his right hand on me, saying, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the first and the last. Who is speaking? Yahusha. And when he says, I am the first and the last, what is he saying? There is none before me, there was none before me. There is none beside me, and there will be none after me. I want to pause there, and I want to go back and read Devarim chapter 4 and verse 35 again, okay? Hold there. I'm going to go back again and read Devarim chapter 4 and verse 35 one more time. I want to contrast that to what we just read here. I am the first and the last. None before me. That's what that means. None beside me, none after me. Devarim chapter 4 and verse 35. Bear with me while I get there. Devarim chapter 4 and verse 35. It says, you have been shown it to know that Yahuwah himself is Elohim. There is no one beside him. Excuse me. Okay? Now, I want to read verse 36 for you also. Okay? From the heavens, he let you hear his voice to instruct you. And on earth, he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. What is he referring to? Bereshit? Shamut chapter 3. And if we go there, it will tell you who was in the fire, who was in the midst of the burning bush, that it was Yahuwah in the form of a messenger. That's what he's referring to. So, I'm going to read verse 35 and 36. You have been shown it to know that Yahuwah himself is Elohim. There is no one beside him. Verse 36. From the heavens he let you hear his voice to instruct you. And on earth he, the same one, showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. That is clear. He's saying that I'm the one that speaks from the heavens, and I am the one that shows up on the earth, manifest myself in the earth, whether it be in the form of man or in the form of fire. I am he. It makes it absolutely clear to me. I know why. I know why those who are teaching these things don't see it, but at the same time, I have a hard time saying that I know why when it's so clear in the word. The Ruach has to open your eyes to it, yes, but man, when it's so clear, it baffles me. It baffles me. It honestly do. But you see, it's not just that the Ruach hasn't opened their eyes. The other part to it is that they are not studying the scriptures contextually. They're jumping here and there, picking one verse from here and another verse from there, and they're not studying contextually. And when you fail to study the scriptures contextually, you're going to proclaim falsehood. Okay? Now, okay. Let's go back to Revelations chapter 1. Okay? Verse 17. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he placed his right hand on me, saying, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the Aleph and the Tav. I am the beginning and the end. Meaning there is none before me, none after me, none beside me. And that's what Aleph and Tav means. None before me, none after me, none beside me. If we can't find the at as described as the word, then two Yahuwahs is false. If we can't find the at as described as the word, then two Yahuwahs are false. And and again, a key, you know, I think it's clear, you know, that the scriptures lets us know who. Well, again, what does at mean? At means the beginning and the end, the first and the last. What happened is you have and by the way, it's not that gentleman from Yahuwah's life is not the first guy that I saw teaching that. You know, I watched this video because somebody sent it to me that was teaching the same thing. And I watched the video and he was blown away at what he was seeing. But I actually got that teaching. I watched that teaching from a ministry called 119 Ministries. 119 Ministries. Okay, you can Google it. It's a Jewish synagogue. Okay, 119 Ministries. That's where I first heard that teaching. About a year ago, or sometime about a year ago or so. Okay, that's where I first heard that teaching. You know, it was false then, and it is false now because it goes totally against the scriptures. So they've made this at into a being. They've made at into a being. You know, just the word Aleph and Tav, they have made that into a person, a separate person, where it is a declaration. Aleph and Tav is not a person. It is a declaration. It is a description of the person. You see? So they have made it into a person, but it is simply a description of the person. Okay? Yahuwah, who is the first and the last, the beginning and the end. None before him, none after him. Now, what does the one Yahuwah who is all this says? Let's go to Devarim chapter 6. Devarim chapter 6 and verse 4. And why did he say this? Yashar'Al was getting ready to go into a land where the people were accustomed to worshiping many mighty ones. Okay? That's where they were going. Where the people were accustomed to worshiping many mighty ones. Okay? And so he wanted them to know that the one Yahuwah is capable of meeting all your needs. Yahuwah is not weak where he need 2 or 3 or 5 or 25 of him, 5 different mighty ones to do the job. The one Yahuwah, that's what separates him from all the idols of the earth. The one Yahuwah does all these things. He says, I create dark and I create light. I create good and I create evil. Yahuwah does all these things. Christians have a problem with that. You mean he create evil? Absolutely he does. Yahuwah, the one Yahuwah does all these things. He says the earth is just a drop in the bucket to me. Yahuwah does all these things. The one Yahuwah does all these things. So, when you need a piece of bread, you don't need to go pray to one Yahuwah. And then when you need a healing, pray to another Yahuwah. And then when you need something else, pray to another Yahuwah. No, when we pray, who are we praying to? We're praying to the one Yahuwah. Absolutely, absolutely, Aki. Okay, so Devarim chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Yashar'Al. And why is he saying this? Why is he saying this? Because they were getting ready to go among a people that worship many mighty ones. And so he wanted them to get this and to get it right. Because if they did not get it right, they were going to be destroyed, condemned. Because Yahuwah is jealous. He is zealous. Okay? He will not share his esteem with another. Remember that? He says, I will not share my esteem with another. Because Yahuwah is a jealous Elohim. I will not share my esteem with another. Not even one other. I will not share my esteem. You see, this truth is so throughout the scriptures. I tell you, I can't get it. I don't know why people keep preaching these false doctrines. Okay, Dabarim chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Yashar'Al, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is Achad, one. No, not one in purpose, not one in mission, not one in mind. No, he is one. The one Yahuwah being able to manifest himself in many different places all at the same time. Right now he's here in New Jersey and in every state represented in this room. He's also in China. He's in Jamaica. He's in Africa. He is everywhere right now. Dawood said, if I take the wings of the morning and fly to the uttermost part of the earth, behold, you are there. If I go to the depths of the ocean, you are there. If I spread my bed in Sheol, you are there. There is nowhere. Where can I go from your presence? The one Yahuwah is everywhere. You see, don't need 2 of him, 5 of him, or 20 of him, or 300 or 3 million of him. The one Yahuwah, the omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient Yahuwah. So because he is omnipotent, all powerful, because of that, he is omnipresent. He's everywhere at the same time. And because he's omnipresent, being everywhere at the same time, he knows everything that goes on. There is nothing that surprises him, but he's very aware. He knows everything that is being said here, there, and everywhere. He knows every thought because he is present. He's omnipresent. And all of that because he's omnipotent. Okay? So he says, Hear, O Yashar'Al. This is the most important command that was given. This is the most important. I didn't say it, he said it. This is the first command. Hear, O Yashar'Al, Yahuwah your Elohim is one. Yahuwah your Elohim is Achad. Not one in mind, not one in purpose. He is one. Worship the one, the Achad Yahuwah. Okay? Oh, yes, our key's not hearing well. Okay, so that was the first command. And the reason why he was giving them this command, and he made it the very first command, was because they were getting ready to go among a people that were worshipers of many idols. He says, I am one, worship me only. Okay, now, I'm going to pause there. I'm in Revelations. And we can continue to read through Revelations. The truth just continue to fall off the pages as we continue to read. You know, everywhere we read, it just comes up brighter and brighter. But I want to go back to Shamut. Back to Shamut chapter 20. Back to Shamut chapter 20. That's Exodus chapter 20. Excuse me. Go back to Shamut chapter 20. Okay. Where am I at here? Let's see. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, Shamut chapter 20. Beginning at verse 1. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Now, if Elohim, because you see, those who teach this doctrine of 2 Yahuwahs, or the doctrine of the Trinity, or the Queen of Heaven doctrine, or any other thing they teach that Elohim tells us that we worship more than one mighty one. Okay? Please note that. Please recall that. Please remember that. Okay? They say that Elohim is used to let us know that we worship more than one mighty one. Okay? Those who teach this Yahuwah doctrine teach that we worship 2 mighty ones. Okay? That's what they teach. Not putting words in their mouth, but that's what they teach. Okay? Now, if Elohim means that there's more than one Yahuwah, that there's at least 2 Yahuwahs, now, why then does he speak in this way? Let's read the verse. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am. Did he say we are? If Elohim is in reference to the fact that we worship two mighty ones or three mighty ones or more than a few mighty ones, shouldn't the verse say, and Elohim spoke all these words saying, we are Yahuwah, your Elohim? Is that not what the verse should say? But the verse does not say that, does it? It says, because Elohim does not mean that we worship many mighty ones. Elohim is a title that speaks to the plural nature of the one Yahuwah. He is Yahuwah Yara, he is Yahuwah Rapha, he is Yahuwah Rohi, he is Yahuwah Zadakanu, he is Yahuwah Zabeot, he is Yahuwah Al Shaddai, he is all of these things. Okay? So Yahuwah Elohim, the title Elohim, speaks to the plural nature of the one Yahuwah. The one Yahuwah doing all these things. When you're in a fight, it is Yahuwah that fights for you. And it is Yahuwah that will fight for Yashar'Al. Revelations tells us that. Okay? He didn't have to say, oh, the enemy comes at him. Oh, wait. I'm not Yahuwah the warrior. Let me run and get Yahuwah the warrior. No. One Yahuwah is always ready. Okay? So, you have people going around, and because they're charismatic, they're smooth with their words, people fall for it. But you know what? Hold your finger there. We're in Shamut chapter 20. Hold your finger there. As I say that, I want to go to Romans chapter 16. Okay? Let's go to Romans chapter 16 real quick. Here's a warning. Okay? Here's a warning. Romans chapter 16. Romans 16. Bear with me, please, while I get it. I'm coming. I'm just trying to find the verse real quickly here. Romans 16. All right. Romans 16 and verse 17. Romans 16 and verse 17. Okay? I'm going to begin reading here at verse 17. Here's a warning to the people of Yahuwah. Now I call upon you, brothers. Watch out for those who cause divisions and stumbling, false teaching, contrary to the teaching which you learned, and turn away from them. Watch out for them, turn away from them. Okay? For such ones do not serve our Master Yahusha Mashiach, but their own stomach, and by smooth words and flattering speech they deceive the hearts of the simple. This says innocent. I like the translation that says the simple. Deceive the heart of the simple with their smooth words and flattering tongues. They're like a snake. A snake hissing and his tongue steady going. Okay? And there are many people out there doing just that, deceiving the people of Yahuwah with false doctrines because they have flattering tongues and smooth words. Okay? And unfortunately, that's what's happening. And they deceive the hearts of the simple. Alright? Now, let me go back to Shamut chapter 20. Okay, so, and Elohim, verse 1, and Elohim spoke all these words saying. Notice, according to these guys, Elohim means that there are at least two mighty ones. So what he should be saying is here is that, and Elohim spoke all these words saying, we are Yahuwah. But that's not what he said. And Elohim spoke all these words saying, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. In other words, do not worship any other mighty ones. I am Yahuwah who brought you out. Do not worship any other mighty one. And do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, not we Yahuwah, but I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am a jealous Al. I'm a jealous Al. He used the title Al because he wants you to know that again he is one, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me. Who are those who hate him? Those who do violence to his word and violence to his commands. So he says, do not worship any mighty one beside me. So how can he tell you, don't worship any mighty one beside me, and then present you with two mighty ones to worship, as in the case of two Yahuwahs? It is a false doctrine. It's not according to the scriptures. And everything that we have read to this point shows that fact. Okay? Now, all right. Let's go back. I'm sorry I have you jumping around. Let's go back and finish Revelations. Revelations chapter 1. We were at verse 17. Revelations chapter 1. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he placed his right hand on me, saying, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the beginning and the end. When he says I'm the first and the last, what that means, in other words, there is none before me, none beside me, none after me. Now, is that what that means? Yes. We have many other scriptures that will explain that. We're not going to get to them today, but as time go on, we'll get to them. And we read from Devarim chapter 4, verse 35 and 36 that says it. He says that I am he that speaks to you from the heaven and present myself to you on the earth. That's what Devarim verse 35. I am he, not we are he, but I am he that speaks to you from the heavens and present myself before you on the earth. I am he. That's what Devarim chapter 4 verse 35 and 36 tells us. Okay? And that's what he tells us throughout his scriptures. And there are many other scriptures that we will look at also. For example, even Devarim chapter 32 and many, many others. Yes, they say that Yahusha is seated at the right hand. Yes, 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 literally. And we ask the question, how many thrones are there occupied in the heavens? According to the scriptures, it's one. And guess what? The heavens are his throne, is what the scriptures really tell us. The heavens, he possessed the heavens. He is the possessor of heaven and earth. He is the possessor of the heavens and the earth. He is the possessor of Shamayim and the earth. So even in the book of Acts, when Stephan, when he looked up, his scripture say he looked up into the heavens and he saw Yahusha standing at the right hand of the Father. Is that literal? No, it's a metaphor. Yahuwah allowed him to see that he has, Yahusha is our intercessor. Yahusha, Yahuwah in a humbled state is our intercessor. Yes, his power, absolutely, Echo. That's what the scriptures tells us as we study the scriptures. There's the power of Yahuwah. Okay, so verse 18. And the living one, notice that. And the living one, and the living one. Okay, they separated. I don't know why these people do that. That should have been a part of the other verse. We know that verses weren't in the text before, right? They put them there, but they separated. Should be a part of the other verse. So what we're reading is really, he is the first and the last and the living one. I am not one of the living ones, but I am the living one. I am the living one. Okay, the first and the last and the living one. All other mighty ones are dead except Yahuwah. All other mighty ones that men serve, they have eyes but they see not, mouth but they speak not, feet but yet they have to be carried. All other mighty ones are dead, lifeless, except Yahuwah. That's why he says he is the living one. Not we are the living ones, but I, who is the first and the last, is the living one. Yes, absolutely, Aki. Absolutely. Okay? Now, and I became dead. Now, remember, if we rewind a little bit, guys, let's rewind. I know that I've had you jumping all over the place, but think about this contextually. We are reading Revelations chapter 1. Who is this that is speaking according to the scriptures that we're reading? It says that it's Yahuwah, but he looks like the Son of Man. Yahuwah manifested in the form of a man. But it tells us that it's Yahuwah that is speaking. And this is what Yahuwah says. Okay? And then we're going to test this by other scriptures. Okay? He says here in verse 18, and I became dead. Yahuwah became dead. And see, I am living forever. I am living forever. This is Yahuwah speaking. Scripture tells us it's Yahuwah speaking. As we back up, that's what it tells us. Okay, when you begin reading there in verse 10, Yahuwah speaking, but Yahuwah is presenting himself in the form of a servant, the son of Adam. This is Yahuwah speaking, and he says, and I became dead, and see, Yahuwah said, I became dead, and see, I am living forever and ever. Amen. And I possess the keys of the grave and of death. Write therefore what you have seen, both what is now and what shall take place after these. The secret of the 7 stars which you saw is my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands. The secret of the 7 stars that you saw is my right hand, my power. Okay? And the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars. Yahuwah in his fullness is invisible. Yahuwah chose to manifest himself to work. And he manifests himself as Yahusha. What does Yahusha mean? What is the definition of that name, Yahusha? What is the definition of that name, Yahusha? If somebody could write it up there for me. Yahuwah is salvation. It is Yahuwah that saves. It is Yahuwah that delivers. Even the very name tells us. And when there is so much evidence, how can, these guys go against so much evidence, overwhelming evidence, to preach falsehood? It is my prayer that they repent. Because if they don't, they're doomed. Because that's wickedness, according to the scriptures. Okay? It says the secret. It says, verse 19, write therefore what you have seen, both what is now and what shall take place after these. The secret of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands. The 7 stars are messengers of the 7 assemblies, and the 7 lampstands which you saw are 7 assemblies. Okay? Now, I want to go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 12. Because here Yahuwah said it is he that was dead and live and will exist forevermore. That's Yahuwah speaking, but as we back up, we see that it also describes him as Yahusha. and describes him as the first and the last, meaning none before him, none beside him, none after him. He's him all by himself, and he says that I am he. Okay, that is the first and the last, the first and the last. Okay. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. Bear with me while I get there, please. Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 10. Now this is Yahuwah speaking. As a matter of fact, so we know for sure who is speaking, I'm going to start at verse 7, okay? We want to make sure we know who is speaking so we don't guess. Zechariah chapter 12, I'm going to begin reading at verse 7 so we get a picture of who is speaking. I think you would actually have to back up sooner than that if I remember correctly actually, but I'm going to go ahead and read from verse 7. And Yahuwah shall save the tents of Yehudah first, so that the comeliness of the house of Dahoud and the comeliness of the inhabitants of Yerushalayim would not become greater than that of Yehudah. In that day, Yahuwah shall shield the inhabitants of Yerushalayim. See? It is Yahuwah that's going to fight on behalf of his people. That's what he's talking about. Scriptures also tells us that it is Yahusha that is going to fight. What is that telling us? Is that a contradiction, or is that letting us know that Yahusha is Yahuwah manifested in the flesh? Of course, the truth is the latter. Yahusha is Yahuwah manifested in the flesh. Okay, we have many scriptures to get to that will make this clear. So we just have to be a bit patient. Now verse 8. In that day Yahuwah shall shield the inhabitants of Yerushalayim, and the feeble among them in that day shall be like Dahoud, and the house of Dahoud like Elohim, like the messenger of Yahuwah before them. Who is the messenger of Yahuwah? Yahusha, which is Yahuwah manifested in the flesh. Yahuwah coming as servant. And it shall be in that day that I seek to destroy all the heathens that come against, they have the word Gentile, heathen that come against Yerushalayim. And I shall pour on the house of Dahoud and on the inhabitants of Yerushalayim a spirit of favor and prayers. This is Yahuwah speaking. He's the only one that is able to do this. And they shall look on me whom they pierced. This is Yahuwah saying, they shall look on me whom they pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son. And they shall be in bitterness over him as a bitterness over the firstborn. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah. And so you see, Yashar'Al, even though we think that we have gotten it right now, even though we think that we realize that it was a mistake, that when Yahusha came, that instead of welcoming him, we turned against him, even though we think that we woke up and we got it, yet when we see him, that's when we're really gonna get it. And the scripture goes on to say that the weeping in Yerushalayim in that day will be great. That is the only time that we will weep in the presence of Yahuwah, when we recognize that truly we, our people, Yahuwah came to deliver us, and instead what we did was we turned against him. But that had to happen according to the scriptures in order that the Gentiles may come in, those who he had put away, those whom he had divorced. Yehudah had to turn their backs on Yahuwah so that the 10 tribes would have a chance of restoration. Praise Yahuwah. Well, we're going to stop there for today, family. I want to open up open up the room to, you know, any questions or comments, but I don't want to go any further. We're gonna take a pause here for today. We have a whole lot more to cover. Okay, so Yahuwah willing, we'll be continuing in our study, and we go as He leads us. You know, there have been a couple times where He has led to where we have gone and dealt with something else, and we come back. So as He leads, we'll follow. But I'm gonna pause here for today, and if there are any you know, comments, questions, anything from the room, anyone would certainly like to entertain them at this time. Praise Yahuwah. Alaph. Shabbat Shalom to you, JD 1937. Okay, Achad of Yahuah. I'm going to release the mic to you, Achad. Mike is free, Achad of Yahuah, and yes, Aki will. We certainly can. We certainly can. Mike is free, Achad of Yahuah. I'm sorry you're having trouble, Achad. Maybe you could try logging out and coming back in, see if that helps. Or even doing a quick re-download of Paltalk. Sometimes that fix those issues. You could just go to the file on your messenger and click download latest version, and it'll do a quick re-download, and it might fix the problem. Sometimes that works, you know. Okay. All right. In the meantime, Achad, while we wait for you to see if you could do that, I'm going to read from Revelations here, chapter 4. Key Will had asked if we could read Revelations chapter 4, verses, what verses did our key point out? Verses 2 to 3? Okay. Okay, Revelations 4, 2 to 3. And immediately I came to be in the spirit, and saw a throne set in the heavens, and one sat on the throne. And he who sat there was like jasper and a ruby stone in appearance. And there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald in appearance. Okay. Shabbat Shalom to you, Achad of Yahuah. What was the question to that verse, Aki? If it's probably best if you get the mic. I just wanted to know what was the question in regards to the verse. Oh, is this the physical appearance? Well, what we have is, this is where Yahuwah allows Yahukanan to see him in this manner. But the scriptures lets us know that under normal circumstances, Yahuwah is invisible. Let me go to, well, there are several places that says it. For example, in Yahukanan chapter 4:35, I believe it says, or 20 something, it says, Yahuwah is spirit, they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. In 1 Timothy, let me go to 1 Timothy. It's in several places, but here Yahuwah allows Yahukanan to see him in this manner. And the scriptures gives different descriptions of Yahuwah also. For example, the scriptures right here in the book of Revelations, as we read later on, it describes him in a different manner. Not in this way, but just describes him as a bright light, you know. And so the scriptures, that's just one way that he manifested himself there to Yahukanan in this vision that he had allowed him to see. Clear enough, Aki? I'm gonna go to Timothy. Trying to remember where. Praise Yah, okay. I'm going to Timothy here in a second. I'm trying to remember exactly where it's at. I'm looking for it. Just give me a second. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Mind-blowing to say the least, right? Absolutely. Praise Yah. Okay, our coat Yahweh is back. Coat, you want to give it a shot again? I'm going to release the mic, okay? All right, praise Yah. I'm going to release the mic.
Shabbat Shalom. Can I be heard? Haykal Yahuwah. Firstly, I just Barak Yahuwah. I'm so thankful for his mercy and for the opportunity to share with you. I'm a little older, so sometimes things of the electronic sort give me trouble. But I just wanted to come forth and just give the Most High the praise he deserves because he has been so merciful to us, you know, every day. And just to encourage everybody, I've been around for a while, and I've been through a lot of things. So that thing about enduring and overcoming, you know, rings very loud in my ears because the race, you know, definitely is not given to the swift. But those who endure and those that overcome. So, you know, I've been through a lot, and I'm sure many of us have, but I'm just very thankful that the Father still has me here. I know that he is the only one that has life, you know, and there's nothing out there in the world that can do us any good. So I am thankful. Like I said before, I write a lot, and not so much over the last couple of months, but I have been writing. I don't sing that much as I used to, but I would like to just, if I could, just give you the words to the song, and maybe at some other time, perhaps Yahuwah willing, I might be able to sing it. I don't always get the music for my songs. I just oftentimes the words just start flowing, and so he said sing it. And it's hard for me to look and read and talk. I can't hardly walk and chew gum at the same time, so please bear with me. Okay, so it's called Overcome. And I think there was something that the brother, he is real, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name. You spoke something last night, and the problem with me is sometimes by the time I type something, 2 or 3 minutes may have gone by, and it may not be what you're talking about at the second. But anyway, this song came to my mind as something that you were speaking about, Mark. Okay. It says, overcome the lies of the world, overcome the hate of the day, overcome the fear in your mind, overcome your fleshly ways. Or you will be overcome by those lies and those fears that Hasatan whispers in your ear. Yahuwah gave us not the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Overcome. It says, that hate is a poison. Don't let it fill your soul. It's driven by anger and fear. Oh, it will make you lose control. Let Yah's laws overtake your mind. Walk in righteousness. You can overcome the lies of this world by the power of Ruach HaKodesh. Overcome the buzz from Babylon's wine. Overcome the idols that blow your mind. You must take a righteous stand before Yahuwah comes and overtakes this land. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, and the pride of life causes you nothing but strife. Overcome these things, or you will see living this way will cause you to be overcome by those lies and fears. Overcome what Hasatan whispers in your ear. Overcome. I lost my part here. Anyway, that's the gist of it. So I had it written down, but I got kind of messed up. But overcome is the key. And through his mercy and his power, we will, if we don't turn back, and if we keep going forward, and, be humble enough to hear when he's talking to us, and to make the changes we need so that we will be overcomers as Yashar'Al. So, Baruch atah Yahuwah, Eloheinu melech haolam, and to him be all the praise and the honor and esteem. And so with that being said, thank you for listening, and I will release the mic. Shalom.
Yahuwah, the first and the last. What does that mean? Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah. That is just beautiful, Akut. And you do have the voice of a poet. And when I say poet, I don't limit it to just spoken words, but singing also. And that was just great. Praise Yahuwah. We look forward to hearing you singing it as Yahuwah permits, as he leads you. That is just awesome. Praise Yahuwah. It is my hope that our study today